Welcome to AlexGs Aquarium, everybody. Today I'm going to be giving an update on the aquarium build, talking about the aquarium system that's up and running right now, talk about Reefapalooza, and also going to talk about my recent trip to Maui, Hawaii. It has been a crazy few months here. I haven't been making videos, and I thought it was time to go ahead and do an actual video here to talk about everything that's been going on, just because it's been so busy these last few months. And I'm going to start off by talking about the elephant in the room, or I should say the aquarium stand in the room. I did go ahead and reveal my display aquarium build at Reefapalooza. I threw it up on Instagram, and I'll talk a little bit about that when we get to Reefapalooza as to why I did that. But it's out there now. I wanted to do a video to talk a little bit about it. I would show the whole thing in the camera, but literally I don't think I can get my camera far enough away with the lens I have to actually capture the whole thing. It's pretty big, as you can see. And just to give you an idea of scale, the camera is on the far end of the tank. I'm going to walk down. So I have to yell a little bit, but this is the other end of the aquarium. I am 30 feet away from the camera right now. This tank's going to be big. So this aquarium is going to be a monumental project, obviously. I have the stand built and it's basically done. It's all leveled with a laser. So I cut every single individual leg of this stand to be even with the floor. So the stand is laser level all the way across. The next thing I started working on was my canopy posts. None of these are all lined up or perfect where they need to be, but the canopy structure, which I've kind of started down there, is starting to go up. As a matter of fact, I got to redo the long pieces, as this is one of those things where I thought maybe I can use a 2x4 to span 12 feet. And after I did it, I kind of went, this is a really dumb idea. Once I have the canopy section done, I work on the tank bottom, the tank's upper brace, and after that, I could start working on all the plumbing, electrical, and aquascaping for the tank. And finally, I'll get the glass installation figured out. And I gotta say, this is a monumentally huge project. This tank's over 4,000 gallons in size. The approximate water line is where that blue piece of tape is over there. So there's going to be quite a bit of room here in the canopy structure to allow me to have access and also keep my lights raised up nice and high, along with all the other electronics that have to go in here. This is all going to be a controlled space, so it's all going to be negative pressurized to keep all the humidity generated from this massive tank inside that canopy, so it can go through the dehumidifier or potentially get ventilated outside. But I wanted to show it off. I shared it at Reefapalooza. I got a lot of questions, and the next thing I want to talk about a little bit is the current aquarium system running in the back of the fish room and how that's doing. Well, back in the fish room, things back here are going not that great. I'll be perfectly honest, the fish are doing wonderful. However, though, the corals are not doing well. And this is something that it was ongoing before. I had done a 200-gallon water change, and as October kind of creeped in towards Reefapalooza, I was getting some other stuff done on the tank. I was kind of waiting to see what happened, and things still weren't exactly doing what I wanted them to. And because of that, I really started to wonder what else is going on in this tank. With Reefapalooza and also my vacation to Maui coming up, I really could not get everything I wanted to get done before I had to leave to go out of town. So I made sure everything was just stable. I didn't add any fish, certainly wasn't adding any corals, even though it was very tempting at Reefapalooza to do that. And after I got back from my trip from Maui, things weren't looking much better. Some of the corals are closed up. My big Gorgonian here, it's not deteriorating, it's just not opening. And it was opening before some of the SPS, the couple that are left are bleached out. A lot of the LPS and softies even are just looking very stressed. Some of them are bleaching out, and I honestly don't know what's going on. The water parameter as far as the alkalinity, it's a little bit high now. I think the consumption slowed down while I was gone, so it's right around 9. My magnesium's holding around 1290. Phosphate is just reading probably about 0.03, 0.05. Nitrates are only about 2. And calcium is in the 400, 450 range, somewhere in there. So water parameters I'm testing aren't looking bad, and that really kind of screams to me one thing needs to be done, and that is an ICP test. I didn't do it before I left to go out of town because I did not want to see bad results and be worried about it for 2 weeks. Therefore, when I came home, I saw how things looked. I knew there was something I could do immediately that would help to hopefully resolve this, and that's a water change. So I went ahead and I've done my first 500-gallon water change. I used my 2 water storage tanks in the back end line for the water change system. And when I came home and I was going to do this water change, I did need to finish up some plumbing to get into the sewer line. I had most of the run done, but I hadn't finished it out, so I kind of rigged up a couple of things, got some vinyl hose, and used my new Platinum Blue pump to pump out. And it worked really well. The only thing that I found as a problem during the water change was that pumping out the very bottom of those tanks really didn't work out so well. I do have a solution for it now. I actually tried a couple other failed things first, like maybe I could use my old Python setup to suck the water out. And I was like, that's a great idea. Only problem with that I found is when you're trying to suck water into a tall sink from a low point with a 3/4 inch inside diameter hose, you really don't get any suction off of these tiny little water lines. And it just led to a lot of frustration on my part going, really? I did all this, I went to the hardware store a couple times, and I'm still no closer. So I eventually just got out whatever I could in there with a net, just the tube worms, little structures and stuff out of detritus. I got as much as I could. There was a couple of gallons left in there, old water, and I just said, I can't wait. Got the RO unit redirected to go in there and started filling it up. A couple days later, I got it heated up, salt mixed into it, turned the valves, and the water change was done. So from that standpoint, it worked really well. The majority of the water pumping out was pretty good, but I do need to get something different to help get that water out. I actually did purchase one of those CJ utility pumps that go down to like 2 millimeters of water. So we'll test that out next time I need to do this and see how that works out as far as getting water out of the tank. Overall though, at this point, I'm just awaiting. I did take an ICP water sample before the water change was completed. It's in the mail, and fingers crossed next week I'll get some results there. So at least I can look at that and start to understand, is there something else going on in the water here that I'm just not aware of? I'd be really happy actually if they have some things that are bad that can give me a direction to go in. Maybe I do have some metal poisoning going on or something that I'm not aware of, and I can start to look in the right direction to see if I can find a problem. But I anticipated these things are going to happen, and to be honest, even though my last tank was highly successful, that things were doing great, there's going to be some growing pains here. Overall though, it's going to get back on track. Time and patience, it's the name of the game in this hobby. And when you have 2,100 gallons of water like I do in this fish room, nothing changes overnight. And even though I did just under a 25% water change in this system, it doesn't mean things are going to happen overnight. I'm hoping in the next month or so, everything starts to get back on the road to recovery. If it doesn't, in another couple of weeks, I'm going to do another 500-gallon water change. And we'll just have to keep doing this until things look better. But overall, that's how the system's going. Fish are okay, so that's a plus. The corals just aren't looking good. The only downside to that is, it's kind of depressing to look at. But on the bright side, pretty much everything in here is all aquacultured, so while it's not happy and it upsets me and things die, I know I can replace what's lost, and it's a sustainable resource, which is a good thing. Reefapalooza was one of those things that I was really looking forward to this year. With going to Maui, Hawaii, literally a few days after Reefapalooza, though, I knew I couldn't go and buy corals, and unfortunately my coral's not doing well. I really made the decision I'm not buying anything anyways, because as part of a rule of thumb, one, if I'm going on vacation, I try not to add anything to the tank at least a month before I leave. That way I'm not potentially setting someone up for failure if they're going to watch the tank. But when Reefapalooza came, I was really looking forward to it. The first one they had in Chicago in 2019, I did attend, but I had literally just had surgery a few days prior to it, so I really didn't stick around long. I didn't try to hang out with anyone. I talked to Greg Carroll for a bit, walked around, and I was like, I'm just not feeling my best. I'm going to head out of here. So that was that. But this year, basically being isolated and cut off from the world for a long time, a good friend of mine now that I met through this hobby, Reefing with O, I was talking to him, and he's like, well, I'm thinking I'm coming in for Reefapalooza. And I was like, well, hey, if you're going to come in, I'll pick you up at the airport, and hey, look, you get in a day early or something, we'll go to my house. We'll hang out here and talk reefing, and I'll show you what I got going on, because I haven't had any of my reefing friends over, because the majority of them are on the other side of this camera in some other part of the United States or Canada or another part of the world, so people don't really get to actually see anything in person or meet anyone in person. And O has been a great friend for years now, all virtual online through either Instagram or YouTube. That's how we've talked for years, and it was nice to finally get to meet him. And that was one of the things that I thought was just awesome about Reefapalooza, is that I didn't spend a lot of time looking at corals. I did look at some, and just knowing I wasn't going to buy anything, I kind of stayed away from it at least a little bit. I talked to a lot of different vendors. I spent a lot of time talking with Unique Corals, Joe Caparetta, talking with the Worldwide Corals folks, talking with vendors about ozone or aquascaping or different pumps or products that they had. And I had a lot of fun doing that, and just meeting other hobbyists, going out to dinner in the evening and just having a good time talking about reefing, swapping stories about aquarium maintenance, meeting other people that actually had that job or are doing that job now. It's just a lot of fun, and I haven't been able to hang out with friends or people in the reefing community for a long time, so it really was nice to meet everyone. Obviously Reefing with O, Greg Carroll, Be the Fountain, and I can't think of everyone else, so I apologize if I'm keeping anyone out. Than from Tidal Gardens, I got to speak with him. As I said, Joe Caparetta from Unique Corals, the guys over at Worldwide. So I spent a lot of time talking to a lot of vendors, a lot of people. Terrible with names though, so it's not easy for me to remember them. But for everyone I met over there, it was great meeting you, and I really appreciate just making some friendships and connections with folks there. So I had a great time. I did get pulled around a few times by and some other people going to say, you have to show pictures of this. So again, just a lot of fun, and the show was great. I really enjoyed it. I did participate in the raffles, although I came up empty-handed. But hey, that's just part of the fun there. And just, again, great time at Reefapalooza. I'm really looking forward to next year's show. And I gotta say, going to this show, it really does make me want to potentially travel to go to some other shows. I've never done that before. I always kind of went, why would I spend money to go travel to a coral show if I can stay home and spend more money on coral? And I think this really was kind of eye-opening me, just more so just having fun with other people that have like-minded and in reef keeping and sharing ideas and such. Just lots of fun. I really had a great time, so I'm looking forward to it next year. One of the funny stories I wanted to share is coming over to my house to see the aquarium build. I didn't even know the corals weren't doing well. I knew he would enjoy just seeing it. He was looking forward to it. So we came over, we talked for a bit upstairs, and came downstairs, and you know, the fish room is directly in front of the stairs. And he saw the blue glow of the lights in there, and immediately he's like, oh, well, I'm just going to go in there. Now, in order to see this massive thing, you have to make a right turn or look to your right, and he just fixated in on that blue light and walked into the fish room. Now, the funny part about this is, we spent about 45 minutes in the fish room talking about it, showing him everything, just kind of going through stuff. He's taking some pictures, just having a good time talking about reefing. And then I kind of said, well, do you want to go and look at the display tank build to see how that's going? And he kind of looked at me and he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, this is it. And I looked at him and I said, well, no, I sent you some pictures before of parts of this. And he goes, I thought that was part of what you're building in here. And I just said, no, you haven't seen the big tank yet. He kind of looked at me funny. And this video here that I'm going to show kind of captures the moment. I will admit, the very first part of him walking out of the fish room door and looking at this, I reshot that with him because I didn't have the camera rolling. But I wouldn't let him walk any further until we did that. So from him walking out the door to the rest of it is all genuine.
Wait, Alex.
Keep going.
What the hell?
Keep going.
Wait a second. Oh, ah! Okay, I'm 6 feet tall. All right, I'm 6 feet tall.
What you are standing in front of will be the reef tank. From this part of the L to there will be reef tank.
You have 2,200 gallons now.
Only 21. 2,100.
And
This will probably be around 42 to 4,400.
this part.
This part.
Okay. You've officially ventured into the
Crazyville?
crazy realm now.
You can see he's very shocked at the size of this. And, you know, to me, it's just being able to share. I'm very fortunate to be able to build something like this and have the means to do it. And it's what I think this hobby is really about, is sharing. It doesn't matter if, it doesn't have to be the most beautiful tank in the world out there. It has to be what I like it to be. And I like to share with folks. So, hey, some people are really looking forward and they're like, this is going to be awesome. I had a few people that look at it and go, I don't know if that's going to work. Which I told people too. I said, hey, I'm taking the risk here. Flying by the seat of my pants with a few things, but I'm looking forward to sharing it. So, Reefapalooza, great. Looking forward to it next year. The last thing I wanted to talk about today was my recent trip to Maui, Hawaii. I'm very fortunate in the career that I'm in and the job that I have. I won an award through my work, and that award entailed getting a trip to Maui. So I was flown to Hawaii and put up in a hotel for a few days, and I had the option to extend my stay even longer, so my wife and I chose to extend the trip out to a full 2 weeks. So we got a rental car, an Airbnb, and we explored the island all over. And I got to do some amazing snorkeling in all different kinds of places in different parts of the island. I did not go to the full North Shore just because the waves tend to come in really big, and even the one day we were there, the waves were between 15 and 26 feet tall. Unless you have some kind of death wish, you don't really want to go in that. So I stayed out of that snorkeling. But I did go to a lot of different other places I did one guided tour for snorkeling, but there's just so many beautiful reefs that you can get to right off ashore and pull off, looking at some satellite imagery or just kind of reading through where to go. So I did start in the Kanapale area at Black Rock. I snorkeled over there. Also, when we were staying in the other part of the island, we were staying in Kihei. So I was snorkeling in Kihei, Wailea, and then down in the lava fields down south, I did some snorkeling down there. There's a marine preserve there that I did a couple different spots of snorkeling at. The one I kind of laugh at now because it's literally about 100 yards away from Jeff Bezos' new mega mansion area in Maui, which I just thought it was hilarious that I just snorkeled there and I was like, wow, there's a lot of really wealthy people that live here. And then the next thing I know, I see something with a satellite shot and I'm like, hey, I was snorkeling right there by that dude's house. Not that big a deal, but I will say the biggest shoal of yellow tangs I've ever seen was there, and I want to share some footage of the things I saw. I did get to see a lot of different types of tangs, butterflies, triggerfish. Didn't really see any angelfish to speak of, hawkfish, wrasses. I got to see a decent sized moray eel, a ton of sea turtles, eagle rays, and I even got to see an octopus, which I thought was really interesting being that it was the middle of the day on a reef. And also I got to see on a couple different places too, cleaning stations with cleaner wrasses set up. And I thought that was just so cool to see the Hawaiian cleaner wrasses, 2 or 3 of them in a little group, and just seeing all the tangs pull up. I tried to kind of get over there myself to see if they would, lend their services to me, but apparently they just weren't having it. I got some cool footage anyways. I just did snorkeling in the shallows. I didn't do any scuba diving there. So the corals there, a lot of those places I know get really beat up by waves, so the coral reef itself kind of looks a little there's some really cool big colonies, which I got some pictures and video of that I'll show here. Just want to take the last bit of time here with this video to go ahead and just share some of the pictures and footage I have from Maui. got any comments or questions on the video today, go ahead, leave them down below. Of course, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. And as always, if you'd like to see more, even though I might not produce videos all the time, go ahead and subscribe. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and I'll see you on the next video.